And that should push us into now our deep dive segment. And for this first initial one of hopefully further many more, is going to take us into our dive into Manchester United, into the world that is kind of the underwhelming season, the third year of Mourinho, the cursed year. So, does anyone want to start us off as far as comments goes on this, with considering anything around that scenario?
I feel like we've talked about the third year curse so many times. I've lost count.
We have.
So
Glory,
I'm struggling
glory,
to
glory.
come up with like things to say that aren't repetitive at this
New
point.
content.
Because everything that we're going to talk about right now is
We've talked about this.
we've talked about it and everyone's talking about it. It's all over the internet. So I'm trying to think of something that's actually true. That's the reason is behind Man United's like terrible form. Because I know
So taking away.
the typical reasons are Mourinho, the players are shit. But like I don't know, you know. Because they're actually the highest paid squad.
Low blow.
They're the highest paid squad in the entire world. They get paid the most in terms of salary. Alexis Sanchez gets paid £500,000 a week, and he's not even in the 18. How does that happen?
I always said that was a terrible
Like-
move. I always mentioned that was a terrible move. That was a forced move. That was a move that was forced either to appease Mourinho or whether it was thrown on Mourinho. Either way, it was a forced move that shouldn't have
So
happened.
like I don't know whether it is actually because Mourinho is that bad. Because Mourinho's not this bad of a manager. The players aren't that
So
bad of
here's-
players. There's something going
here's
on, which is like
At least my take on it. Throwing away the third year, this is the way I look at it. I mentioned earlier morale boost, how it's so important. Having the morale of your squad is so important. And right now, I think Man U's morale is pretty shit. And it's not because they're just losing a bunch of games. It's probably because the way Mourinho kind of deals.
I think the
he has
whole
poor.
media surrounding the club is also making the morale like worse and worse and worse.
It's making it worse than it is, as far as there's a big losing streak, everyone's doing
No,
terribly.
literally,
They
like,
always jump on them after a couple
You
games,
can't
kind
even
of thing.
step
But
outside your house without being like ridiculed if you're a United player right now.
you know what? It happens at a lot
It
of
does,
the big
it
clubs.
does.
It's something It's something they have to deal with. Honestly,
think-
you can't put it at that because they deal with that at every big club. Pressure-wise, if you can't deal with
but
the
I'm
pressure, you're
saying
not going to be a big
that's
player,
also
right?
why like you struggle to get out of the rut. I think like they've been in a rut, but they're struggling to get out of it because of that. I think if they learn to put that
No, media, definitely not media.
No, man.
You can't blame it on the media that the rut is continuing because of that.
We did this with Arsenal too last year if you remember. If you remember that episode?
I don't remember us blaming the media on the
No,
rut.
I'm not blaming the media.
I mean,
I'm
we
saying-
looked
it might
into it.
help.
I'm not
It
blaming
It
does
the
might
media.
be a
accurate-
little bit.
I'm not blaming the media.
But-
I'm saying that helps a player's confidence or it worsens a player's confidence. And the players look like they have no confidence.
To an extent, yes. To an extent, yes. But
Yeah.
again, they are big time professional players, the best of the best. They should be able to deal with pressure.
They should be able to look past
deal
it.
with the media.
Yeah.
What
Looks
my
like
my
they're
biggest
not.
thing is it is poor player management. Mourinho, taking away the whole curse, but he has had a knack for after a couple years. Some players do really well with his personality. Some players, he tries to use tactics to push them, but the way he does it, I find, is poor player management. And it's generally abrasive. It generally pisses off a lot of your bigger stars who have bigger egos. And I'm not saying cater to their egos, but I'm also not saying the way he goes about things, I find, he has a way of pissing players off. He pissed off Sergio Ramos. He pissed off Casillas. Pissed off Ronaldo at Real Madrid. You see that with Chelsea, where the players were a big reason why he got sacked so early, on top of the games. And the same thing you hear, where you see Pogba, like in training,
Yeah.
him and
Dude,
Mourinho
that was a
arguing.
cold
That should never
stare.
happen.
That was
In training,
such a
that
cold
should
story.
not happen.
Yeah.
And as a result, you see with the morale boost, and you can look at Chelsea just this season. It is pretty much the same team, but it's night and day as far as the game time goes. It's absolute change. And it really comes down to his player management. I think as a result, it's the third year. A lot of the players now are getting fed up. Anthony Martial, who is a great player, who is now Marino's trying to push him out of the team, and now you're seeing the club be like, no, he's a future
I
player,
don't know.
so we're
Mourinho's been
keeping him, we're
starting
not
Martial
selling
for the
him.
past like 5 or 6 games now.
Because he has to deal with them, so he has to figure something,
he
because
could
the
have
team's
started
not
Sanchez.
working as well,
He
so
didn't
he's
start
mixing it up,
Sanchez. He
right?
could have started Lingard. He could have started
Like, he's...
Fred.
Yeah, but the way they've been playing, he's got to mix it up. You can't keep doing the same thing expecting the same results. Definition
No, I
of
get that. I
stupidity.
get that. But I don't know. What do you think United has to do now to get out of this mess?
I think there's only one thing they can do, because it's the most classic thing. You sack the manager, but what that does is obviously start a chain reaction of everyone actually coming to training, being like, okay, everything is different. We're actually good players. Hold on, we have to prove ourselves to this new manager.
I feel like it's still too early to talk about a sack.
I don't think so. I don't see any way back.
It's they've had 2 games now of recent. They tied Wolves 1-1. They've lost to West Ham 3-1, I believe.
And they lost to Derby in the cup.
This is the same start they had under David Moyes.
They've had a rough start to the season, and it's very similar to the Chelsea season that he got sacked in. And if this continues, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a mid-season sack. And there's been rumors about. We'll just briefly cover this right now. It's rumors about Zidane potentially getting in, and if they can get him in, that could potentially influence it as well. But Man U is generally better than Chelsea as far as not sacking the managers very quickly. So they're going to give him more leeway as a result, and potentially if he can turn it around a little bit, go to the end of the season. But Man U is a top-tier team. Like Ange said, they have a lot of salary, like high-paid salaries, and they're very good players. They should be doing much better than what they are. They should be easily a top-3 team. And they're not. And like Ange mentioned, one of the options is sacking. It is a little early. It will get the result if this continues, I would think, because you'll get a whole atmosphere change, like Ange mentioned. But I think another way to do it, which this is all reliant on Mourinho, and it's very hard as far as to get a manager to change his whole style, but it's really how he treats the players. He's going to have to change and do like a complete 180 probably, where he's going to have to almost reset.
I don't see that.
Right? And the way you do it is you would have to almost kind of take him, get some sort of like team building experience kind of thing.
You don't change your personality.
You have to that's the difficult part. That is the insanely difficult part, is you have to change a lot of your personality. And I don't see that happening. So I you know what? I would agree it's probably going to end up in a sack.
I mean, Mourinho was sacked last time, 17 December 2015, so just weeks before Christmas. We could...
If they keep this trend up, I wouldn't be surprised if it's roughly around the same thing.
Yeah.
They lost to West Ham, and West Ham's been playing iffy this whole season. They've been okay games and bad games.
I was watching the West Ham game, and it was actually, they do this in every game, not just the West Ham game, but they give the opposing team's midfield so much respect, so much space. West Ham could pass the ball around wherever they wanted. They had time on the ball.
West Ham were playing some of the best attacking football I've seen this in that brief minute. I'm just what's going on? Huh?
Yeah, that's what Pellegrini can give you when he's actually on point.
Yeah,
but my big thing is that for next summer, regardless if they sack Mourinho or assuming that they don't sack him, actually,
right,
they're going to need to highly consider taking a new manager at this point. Otherwise, you're going to have to basically alleviate the what's taking part of the morale down, which is going to be feuds, which means Pogba's going to have to go, and Barca's very interested. But I think that would be a wrong move on Man U's part.
Man.
Martial's probably going to end up having to leave as well, which I think is also a wrong move considering he's so young and's got a lot of potential. So you're going to see players like that, and honestly, I think that's the wrong way of the club that wants to go. So I'd be very surprised if he stays past this year.
Also, the thing we have to remember is when you are in a bad rut like this, it happens to every club. Not just Man United. It'll happen to every club during this season. And
there are ruts,
when you're in a rut and you lose yet another game, it's easy to go and find new reasons or to use the same old reasons. But the most common reason that you lose games when you are in a bad place is because you're originally in a bad place. So when something goes badly in a game, for example, you concede a goal, and you're already in this bad rut, you have doubts that start creeping in. You have your manager that's already on the edge. You have subs ready to come on because your manager doesn't trust you. And then all this is cyclic. So, unless you get out of this rut because of luck, usually it's because of luck that you end up winning a game that you didn't deserve to, then it starts getting better. So,
yeah,
I think it's also, a bit of an overreaction to say all the stuff that we have been saying, because ruts happen, and it seems like they're getting it at the beginning of the season. So that's also part of the reason.
I'm not building my response just off the rut, though. I'm building it off just the videos I've seen from in training where 100%. You have a Pogba arguing Mourinho and things like that shouldn't be happening. Like,
but
sure, maybe they might dispute, but ultimately the manager should have all say, and the players should be respecting that. The fact that he's not respecting it shows that there's some major dispute.
Here's one thing to think about, though. If that video came out and it was Pep with, let's say, Sterling, what would the media say? They would see the exact opposite.
I don't think that would happen, though.
No,
and the reason you wouldn't
something
get
like
that
did actually happen. But what the media made of it was, oh, Pep is teaching Sterling to become a better player. That's exactly what happened. Like, it, I think...
So you had them basically arguing on the pitch.
Yeah. And the thing is, the media...
No, I get that. Even with Klopp, if you'd had an argument... I feel like at Chelsea, City, and Liverpool right now, the three managers that are in place are... essentially bigger than the player. So, like, the star man in the team isn't, like, a particular player, but a manager. I don't know if that makes sense, but from a perspective...
You mean the manager is the true star player of the team in every other club? Okay, yeah. I think that's the case with Man United, too. I don't know. It's hard to say.
And again, I just want to mention quickly... I want to quickly mention, though, that I'm not, again, building it just off this one.
No, I totally get that. I just wanted to throw the point out there.
I'm just saying I'm not building off this one video or anything like that. I'm building off, even last year, there was repeated instances and stories about, again, Mourinho, Pogba having a feud. Yeah. So, like, the consistency of it is what really brings it home, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, Mourinho's known for it, too, so it only makes sense.
It's the case with Mourinho everywhere he goes.
Yeah. So, I mean...
I think he just has a hard time dealing with specific personalities, and I think some of those personalities are a little bit more...
It's always the big personalities that you clash with. Yeah. And that makes sense, right?
The egos.
You're not going to clash with us.
They're hard to manage, though. In fairness to him, it is hard to manage players who are at the top of their game, who have big personalities and big egos kind of thing, and at some points you're going to have to tell them, like, look, you're playing like shit. Like, change that. But it's the way you go about doing it.
Looking at their next 5 fixtures, they have Valencia in the Champions League, Newcastle, Chelsea, Juventus, and Everton.
Oh boy!
Realistically, I'm seeing maybe. I don't know if they can beat Valencia. They should be able to beat Newcastle. They should be able to beat Newcastle. Chelsea, I doubt that's going to happen. Same against Juventus.
They play well against Chelsea generally.
They
do
play well
against Chelsea. It's hard to predict, man. Like, for all we know, they could end up having a good set of 5 games, and the media completely turns around. So
yeah, but going off the current form, I see maybe 1 or 2 wins in the next 5 tops.
Mourinho has a way of surprising people. That's what I've learned.
And
you mean
I think this is just a critical point for them.
No, I mean...
I think we'll see what happens.
Just getting unexpected results.
Yeah.
And
we'll see what happens. That's all we can comment on is kind of what we see now, a bit of what we can speculate. But honestly, still early.
Like
still plenty of season.
Ronaldo,
very easy to turn it around.
Watch Ronaldo get a red card against United, and
he's not playing against United.
Pogba score a worldie against Juventus. No, he is playing against United.
Did the red card get rescinded?
It's only for 1 match.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
I guess, as far as time's sake goes, that should bring us into our next topic.